fade green. Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place.
Ready? Right.
This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go. Go.
And a good Monday morning, Birds fans. The start of what should be a very interesting week for the Philadelphia Eagles. As it plays itself out, we'll determine our opinion as to whether it's a successful week for the Philadelphia Eagles. But it sure as hell is going to be interesting. You got your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. We got 2 good hours coming your way this day, all week. We got 2 of our Eagle faves joining us, Paul Domowitch and Ed Kracz, over the course of the next 2 hours. So stay streamed in right here on Birds 365. And since it's such a big week, you might as well go ahead and hit the like button. If you're going to be here this week with us, if you're going to be a Mac and Mac guy, then give us a little love and hit the...
yeah, way to go, Jody. Right off the bat.
First things first, let's get that out of the way. Kind of like Darius Slay. First things first for us is the fact that Diana Rossini is a very good reporter for ESPN. She's not really one of the news-breaking, information-gathering gals, but every once in a while she gets a tidbit.
Information broker. Can I jump in?
Yes,
information broker.
That's the phrase that you like to use, and I like too. It does. It fits the detail of the job. That's
Mike Sealski. I have to give him credit every time. I stole it from Mike.
Sealski uses the information broker phrase. It is a good one. That's not usually what Diana does. She's a very good reporter, but that's not her main task in life. But damn if she doesn't break something at what time. You and I wrap up the show. I'm getting ready to get the dog out for a little bit of a walk. And sure enough, I got a text from McMullen, a copy of the tweet from Diana Rossini. What time was that, J-Mac?
I think it was 10:06. I think it might have been 10:05, but it was
somewhere thereabouts after you and I wrapped up the show at 10:01. That the Eagles have granted permission to Darius Slay to seek a trade if he so desires, but they will continue to work to keep him as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a lot to unpack there. Number one, thanks for breaking it at 10:05. You couldn't do it at 9:55, Diana? Timing is everything in life. But the fact that this information got out and the Eagles, because Darius Slay went on his podcast over the weekend and said, listen to me, I did not request a trade. This was not a request from the Darius Slay camp. So don't think I'm trying to force my hand and force my way out of Philadelphia. So this was an Eagle-generated piece of information that they probably had a couple of conversations with Darius about doing a contract extension, one that they can certainly reduce his very large cap number this year and add some years. And they're not matching up on those added years and what the cost to them would be. Darius, he wants to stay an Eagle because he wants to get more years at big bucks, and the Eagles are hoping for more years at less bucks, and those two things are not matching up. So that's why the Eagles did what they did. What do you think their thought process is behind letting this information get out?
They want Darius to see the market, and I think it's a calculated gamble of, he's 32 years old. Slay's a New Year's baby, so he's not going to turn 33 to January 1st of next year. But so, I mean, we know this league and over 30 players, and he had a great first half, and he wasn't quite as good as in the second half. And all of a sudden, you start thinking about moving forward in years, because we all knew they had to do something with the contract. I mean, the salary cap number is just untenable. 26 million, over 26 million. So you knew something had to be done. And the obvious answer was extension. 16, $17 million a year is what Slay was under average annual value. So to me, it's a clear indication the Eagles don't want to pay that moving forward, and say, all right, if you think we're being hardline, go out and find something else, Drew Rosenhaus. And if you find something else, things obviously change. So I think it's a calculated gamble, but boy, man, I got to tell you, if you lose Darius Slay and James Bradberry, whew, that's something. And we talked about the 5 stages of grief a lot after the Super Bowl. I see people are starting to pick up on it. I saw a couple columns. I've been talking about this from day one. The most disappointing part of the Super Bowl is you're going to lose some big-time players. And even I didn't think you were going to lose both cornerbacks. Well, that's in play now. I still think Slay's going to be back, because this league works and they just don't like older players. So I don't know how many teams are going to be willing to go at the number, but it only takes one. We saw Miami Dolphins. It only takes, with Jalen Ramsey's not as old, but some people have said he's declining. He's not what he once was and all this. There's always one. Not always, but typically one. Mm-hmm. Calculated gamble here from the Eagles.
And they wanted to control the narrative, because they could have just said to Slay's agent, listen, we're having trouble coming up with a number here. You've thrown a couple, we've thrown a couple. Doesn't look like we've got a negotiable mid-ground here. So we might need to get a third party involved here to kind of decide who's closer to what Darius' market should be. Why don't we give you permission to go out and seek a trade, and you can come back with us as to what the offers have been, and then we'll weigh it and we'll potentially trade you. They could have done this all behind closed doors. And for some reason, it gets leaked out. And I got to believe it was because, and sorry for you Slay fans and to Big Play himself, he's an open book. He's going to go on that podcast. He's going to tell the world whatever the hell he wants to, anytime he wants to. So they said, well, why don't we get the word out there first? Because if we give him permission and say, yeah, we're going to keep this between ourselves, we don't trust him to keep it between themselves. He's going to go on a podcast and tell the world, oh, the Eagles are giving me permission to grant the trade. The Eagles came to me. Yeah, this is a narrative control deal. And I don't know that it's advantageous for them. We'll see how it plays itself out. But I don't really blame the Eagles for doing what they did.
No, I mean, you got to, I always say the most difficult part of building a good team, a good roster, a good organization is being honest with yourself. So if you do feel he's not going to be the same player in a year or two, you got to be honest about that. One of the things Howie has been honest in his own way and saying, he's been too loyal in the past. And you could have the same conversations about Fletcher Cox and, Brandon Graham's a little bit different because Brandon took $6 million to come back. All right, you can live with that, even if you're wrong. And I don't think you're going to be wrong because he played at a high level. There's no indication that at least at a reduced role that he's in, that he's not going to continue to be effective. But it's possible at his age. But the contract is not going to hurt you all that much. If you sign 2-3 year extension, $17 million per year, well, that could hurt you down the road. So you got to be honest with yourself. To me, this seems like the Eagles are saying, all right, this is a declining player. I hate to say that to Slay, but that, and I know he doesn't like it because I saw him clapping back against a fan. And in the world of social media, Guys are probably taking that stuff too seriously. You know, forget about what the fans say. Forget about even what I say, what Jody Mack says. The Eagles are saying something by going down this route because they, you know, Slay's for people that don't realize, you know, he was brought to tears when that team voted him as a captain. He likes this organization. He likes this team. He realizes the situation he was in. If you go up to him and say, I'll give you a slight bump or keep it the same, I think he'd say, all right, no problems. I think what the Eagles are saying, well, no, it's possible he wants a raise. Everybody wants as much money as possible.
Sure.
But I don't know. That's how I take it. How do you take it, Jody?
I take it that you got a good grasp on it. I'll give you my football evaluation. I'm not Howie Roseman, but we all play Howie Roseman from time to time. Yeah, I don't think he's worth what he's making these days. And sometimes these things can turn on a dime, that it should never be about a game or a handful of games. But you said it yourself. We're talking about a half season last year. There was a Darius Slay half one, Darius Slay half two. And the half two wasn't near as good as the half one. And when you're talking about a half a season, that's more than just, hey, you had a bad game, had a bad couple weeks, had a bad month. No, you had a bad half season. And I would say about 90% of the time that signifies there's going to be a drop-off coming, that this isn't going to all of a sudden turn itself around, do a 180, and go right back to playing at the level that would mandate the money that he's getting right now, which is top of the market, top cornerback money. He didn't play like a top cornerback in the NFL in the second half of the season. So I think those Eagles within their right, if they're being true to themselves, as Johnny Mack correctly pointed out, probably more important than anything else, be true to yourselves in your evaluations, he's probably not worth it. So again, I got no problem with what the Eagles did. The other cornerback slot, again, information coming out could on this one, it could have been from either side. The Slate thing unquestionably was from the Eagles. That when James Bradberry hits the market coming up in less than 4 hours from now, the Eagles hope that he will come back to them with whatever his top offer is, whatever he's considering taking, and giving them a chance to evaluate it and maybe potentially match. If he wants to continue to be an Eagle, and he's on record and says, yeah, that'd be good for him. He wants to get paid, number one. That's the priority. But if he's got choices as to who's going to pay him, the Eagles are definitely someone he wants to give a chance to consider. The Eagles said, we hope you come back to us and give us a chance to match. Anytime you do that, that's a little risky, because you are basically telling the player, yeah, we're gonna be right there at the top of the market, whatever your value is. And maybe you stretch a little bit. There's ways that you can find out actually what the numbers are. Howie's very well connected, but they're not going to be able to flat out lie. But there are ways you can create a way to drive a number up. It's a risky proposition, but if Slay's situation is what Slay's situation is, the retention of Bradberry becomes that much more important. So again, I understand why the Eagles, if they were the ones who got this information out there and it's accurate, you got to do what you got to do. I don't think that this was their preferred way of getting it done, but they really do want to keep Bradberry, and I think they should, because there was no drop-off in his second half performance the way there was with Slay.
Yeah, I take that as sort of, I think the Eagles do that with everybody. We love you, because Howie doesn't like to close doors. It doesn't make sense to close doors. So you say, we love you. Please come back when you get your deal in place, if you get a deal, and please give us an opportunity to match. And then the Eagles get the deal, make the decision. I think that was always what's going to happen with James Bradberry. Tell me what the market is. I put the players in 3 categories. Tell me what the market is. If it's 12, 13 million, I think the Eagles will try to bring him back. If it's 15, 16, 17 million, I don't think they'll try to bring him back. I think it's the same as it was. Now you just have James going on the radio and saying, hey, they want an opportunity to match. I think that was always, I think the Eagles say that to Miles Sanders. They say that to TJ Edwards and Marcus Epps, CJ Gardner-Johnson, everybody. but there's certain guys they want to bring back. CJ probably topping the list. And I'm not saying they don't want to bring back Bradberry, but in other words, what I'm saying is it hasn't changed. Now, if the market is less than what we all think it's going to be, and I was texting with the ex-GM yesterday, and he still thinks he's gone, and most people I've talked to think he's gone. But if it's not what we think it's going to be, then the Eagles leave that door open, and there's an opportunity. But I don't think they're going to replace Slay's $17 million with Bradberry's $17 million. In other words, I don't think the Slay conversation has much to do with the Bradberry conversation, if that makes sense. I think it's, so what might they bump it up from 12 to 13 if they lose Slay, if they trade Slay? Yeah. But if you're asking me, because it doesn't make sense from a contract standpoint with the dead money to trade Slay, to cut Slay. People are saying, just cut Slay. You can't cut Slay. It all accelerates onto the cap. That's the whole problem. So something always had to be done with Slay, and all they're doing is wrangling over the extension. So if you're asking me for an early prediction, and I'm sure people, when it won't come to fruition, I still expect Slay to be here in the end and Bradberry to get a better deal elsewhere. I don't think much has changed.
But do you expect Slay to be here under a renegotiated contract?
Oh, yeah, they have to. They're not paying that cap number of $26 million. So really, it's just benign. They're saying to Drew Rosenhaus, who's Darius's agent, look, if you think we're lowballing you, go out and see if we're lowballing you. And, you know, he's looking for the outlier. He's looking for the team willing to pay a 32 that's going to be 33 on January 1st of next year, cornerback, multiple years at $17, $18 million. They're saying, go out and find that. Prove that to us. And if they do, then the Eagles got a whole bigger problem. But they're, you know, Howie, as you mentioned, is pretty plugged in. You know, he knows more than we do. He usually, when he does this kind of stuff, has a good feeling for what the market is.
But here's where the Eagles are in a bad situation with Slay, the way that I read it. He's still got the leverage. Slay still got the leverage. Because if they believe, like John McMullen just believes, they can't bring him back at that number next year. It's just too much. It's going to be a cap crush killer, and they got to sign these free agents. And the next 48 hours is going to be huge as they're trying to get deals done with their own players who become free agents and or anybody else. If he just sits there and goes, all right, well, I'll play for what I'm scheduled to play for next year, then what do the Eagles do? If he says, here, you want to do an extension, we'll do an extension. Here's my bottom line. I'm not going less than this. Either we get this extension done at this number, or I'll just show up for camp. I'll be there. I'm a captain. I'm ready to play for the Eagles one more year in 2023. Then what does Howie do?
Yeah, well, then, you know, you're playing a game of chicken.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. And oh, by the way, Darius has got stronger footing where he's playing chicken from than Howie Roseman does.
Yeah, well, leverage has been the theme the entire season. I talked about it. Why are there no extensions during the season? Howie always does extensions during the season, blah, blah, blah. I said pretty consistently he has no leverage because everybody's having a career season. Slay is not. Slay had a good season for Slay, but not a career season. But he's got different types of leverage.
Yes.
You're right. I mean, he's got some leverage, but also, and if you want to go back to Jason Kelce, and it probably too involved of a story, when it all started his year-to-year retirement, it didn't start as a year-to-year retirement. What really happened was he was about to enter the final year of his contract. All the guaranteed money was done, and he was an older player who wanted some more than 1 year, didn't want to be a lame duck. That's where Slay is. A little bit different, but same. He doesn't want to be a lame duck. Players only are lame ducks for one of two reasons. They have to be, or they're gambling on themselves, like James Bradberry did and won this year, the so-called prove it deal. Slay's not at that point in his career. So the leverage the Eagles has is he wants more security. He wants more than 1 year. But yeah, if you were saying who's got more leverage, I would say Slay has more leverage.
Yeah, the Eagles have work to do and I'm not sure. It was, I guess, a necessary evil that they had to grant him the ability to go out and check what his value would be on his open market. It's obligatory that the agents got to do that. But yeah, I think that he's just going to sit tight and tell the Eagles, well, but I'm under contract, and I guess we'll talk next year because you guys aren't willing to talk in the dollar figures that I'm looking for. Yeah, this one could go back and forth and get a little ugly at some point. Speaking of ugly, now see, that's just not right. Why would I do that to my guy?
That's me. Come on.
That's just flat out wrong. Shame on you, McDonald.
Damo's like a Hollywood star compared to us.
You got that right. He is ready to join us next from the 33rdteam.com, and his stat package on JAKIBsports.com during the season is a must-read for every Eagle fan every week. And when he joins us, the handsome, the dapper Paul Domowitch always delivers. He's up next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Jeff D'Ambrosio doesn't need a special event to appreciate his customers. Jeff shows his appreciation to them every day of the year. Jeff makes sure to stock more new inventory than anyone and guarantees prices and payments that nobody can beat. There are so many reasons that thousands of customers know Jeff is the easy, friendly place to do business. More for their trades, no judgment zone for credit issues, the best, most reliable service department in the country. That's why I like Jeff, and I know you will too. Jeff will satisfy you every day. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown, Owner Appreciation Event.
We all know that taxes are just part of life. It's true during our working years, but also in retirement. But what you might not know is up to 85% of your Social Security benefits might be taxed. Our team at Thrive Financial has helped retire thousands of people across the Delaware Valley by asking questions they never knew they needed to ask, including how their Social Security benefits might be taxed. It's time to be proactive on taxes. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Plan your day with confidence.
Keep the umbrellas on hand.
With Action News and AccuWeather.
Numerous tornadoes.
Your go-to team when severe weather strikes.
The water is still rising.
Keeping you prepared wherever you watch. Action News and AccuWeather. The team you trust.
Legalized tampering starts in a mere matter of hours. The NFL's free agency season gets underway. Can talk, can't sign, but you can talk. And we plan on talking to one of our faves for the next 20, 25, 30 minutes from the 33rdteam.com and his stat package, a must on JAKIBsports.com in season. Paul Domowitch joined us here on Birds 365. Dami, you've been doing this for a long time, Eagles specific, but league in general as well. Is this a good time or bad time? Is it frustrating because it's all rumor before teams can actually make announcements? you enjoy this, or do you just say, like, come on, wake me up on Wednesday when we can actually get paperwork done?
Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be many rumors. What you hear today is pretty much guys that have agreed to contracts that just, will be official in a couple of days. So, I mean, I never cared for this a whole lot because most of it is leaked through ESPN and the NFL Network.
Information brokers. I like our buddy Mike Sealski. He came up with that term. Yeah. I always give him credit.
You just sit here and wait for them to break it and confirm it.
Yeah. When did you get your accounting degree, Damo? Because we all need our accounting degrees with the salary cap. You remember when that became a thing? Now I spent half my life trying to figure out the salary cap.
Well, it's a good thing I've got Joe Banner on the 33rd team.
Nice. There you go.
Joe's tremendous at the cap, but I did hear. I think Joe was on the Rich Eisen show, so we'll start there. And he mentioned if he were Jalen Hurts, he would wait. Because obviously he's not running the Eagles anymore, so he doesn't care. And if Joe Burrow goes first, or Justin Herbert, or even Lamar Jackson, who knows where that number goes. The Eagles have a history of wanting to get these things done early for good reason. Joe taught Howie, and Joe knows it's only going up. How quickly do you think the Eagles want to get this done with Jalen Hurts?
Yeah. Well, talking to Joe now is kind of funny because he gives you the management side, but he also gives you the agent side. I mean, the agent side is wait for these other guys to sign because you'll get $5 more than they will.
Yeah.
The downside to that is it just drags on the process. You get closer to the offseason program. My guess is both Jalen and the Eagles want to sign as soon as possible. I don't, I think he's going to end up being the first guy to sign out of that, out of the Burrow and Herbert group. So I don't think the unknown is that he's got an agent who's never handled a contract this huge before. Nobody has, but Nicole Lynn, this is, she's inexperienced as an agent.
She's got help though. I mean, she's got help.
I mean, so does Lamar Jackson's mother. How's that working out?
Yeah, that's where I was going next, Damo.
So, but I think that, Jalen knows he wants to sign. He wants to get it done. He wants to, do everything right. So I would think this deal gets done fairly quickly.
Yeah. See, I don't because of the name that you threw out there, Lamar Jackson. You need one domino to fall. You don't want to be the last domino to fall because they always go up, almost always go up. But one's got to fall first. And I don't know that Lamar is falling. And I don't know the first time cutting this big a deal for a player agent for Jalen Hurts wants to be the first one to fall either. No, I think the Eagles hang on to your hats. You're going to need a little patience for this.
Well,
all right, you've been pretty patient. Let me. Sorry, go ahead, Dama.
I was just going to say the one thing. The one thing that makes Lamar's situation different. I mean, he's wanted a completely guaranteed contract. He wants a repeat of what Deshaun Watson got, and that's not going to happen. They would have been willing to pay him a lot of money. They just didn't want to. Now, the Baltimore didn't want to completely guarantee it, and they still don't, which is why it won't get done. Now he's playing this year under the franchise tag for $36 million, which is severely less than any of these guys are going to sign for.
So, and last thing on Lamar, and then I promise we'll move on. You think his response will be a week in, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks, whatever? All right, I was wrong. I got to take the best deal I can take. Or do you think he's going to stand tough like he has throughout this entire year and go, every penny guaranteed, every penny guaranteed? Don't talk to me unless every penny is guaranteed. What makes you think all of a sudden Lamar's going to go, yeah, you guys were right, I was wrong?
No, I don't. I mean, I think he's going to stand there and be stubborn and he's going to suffer because when he eventually does sign with someone, it's not going to be completely guaranteed.
Yeah, and once you sign that franchise tag, you can't negotiate until the period when you can again. So you have that over. But getting back to, we'll shift it to the corners. We talk quarterback. Let's go cornerback because All of a sudden, Darius Slay, the Eagles give Drew Rosenhaus permission to go, hey, look, see where the value is. James Bradberry's out there saying the Eagles have left the door open. Please come back to us. Tell us the deal you got. From my perspective, Damo, I don't think much has changed. We knew the Eagles had to work out some kind of extension with Slay because his cap number is $26 million or something. And with Bradberry, look, if the market isn't there, the Eagles would love to have him back. But if the market's there, they're going to get that contract and say, hey, thanks for playing, James. Thanks for the great season. That's how I take it. Do you take it any differently?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. I think the only thing that I would add to it is, I mean, which one of these two guys would you rather have? You would rather have Bradberry than Slay.
Really?
Let's say
that's tougher for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think Darius is at the end of his career. He's coming off a bad year, and there's not going to be a lot of takers out there for him at the kind of money he thinks he's going to get. But if they could trade him, it certainly would clear enough space. I don't know what the dead money is with his deal.
No,
it's pretty significant. It's pretty significant, even with a trade.
Yeah.
It's
like 21 million, even
22. Yeah, somewhere 21, 22. Yeah,
they don't really save enough to go out and be able to sign Bradberry. He's just going to have to live with it because, I mean, I don't think they really want to push any more money from veterans into the future. They're already lead the league in dead money. They're looking at 2024 when they're going to kind of, they're going to have all these draft picks for all the free agents they're going to lose this year, and kind of, I don't want to say rebuild because they don't, they plan on contending this year, but next year is when you're going to be able to kind of build a foundation of young players with all those draft picks, assuming, you draft wisely.
Yeah. So real quick, sorry, Jody, just one quick. Do you think they could lose them both, Slay and Bradberry?
No, they have to keep one. I mean, that's the problem. They can get, I mean, with that number 10 pick, I think you can get because of the way things are going to fall in that draft with quarterbacks, with edge rushers in the first 9 picks. They should be able to get a plug and play cornerback at number 10, or a couple picks lower if they trade down. So, but they got to hang on to one of these guys because they got nobody else on the roster that could be step in and start with that guy. I'm sure they'll try and do it kind of a thing like they did with Bradberry and Gardner Johnson. Go find a guy that's in that same situation, whose team doesn't want him, who's in a prove it situation, who's willing to sign a 1-year deal. But you got to keep one. You're probably right. It's probably going to be Slay with the dead, since they can't afford 20, they're not going to save much by letting him go.
Damo, not a believer in the book of Job just yet. Neither am I. So they're going to need another cornerback somewhere. All right. You talked about the restocking of the roster and getting younger and the like, but they got to keep one old guy first, and he's got to make a decision. And we would think it would be today at the latest tomorrow because free agency kicks in. And I agree with my partner, John McMullen. Isaac Seumalo's future with the Eagles is fairly well tied to Jason Kelce's 2023 season. Is he playing for the Eagles? Is he off into retirement? In the new age world in which we live, via social media and or a podcast, you can make your intentions known. It doesn't have to all be controlled by the team. How, when, and where are we going to find out whether Jason Kelce is playing this year?
I thought we'd know by now, Jody. I'm wondering if maybe Howie already knows. And I have no idea which way he's leaning. You can make arguments for if you put yourself in his shoes, you can make arguments for why he should retire right now and why you might want to keep playing for at least another year. So I have no idea. I can't read his mind. If you're asking me, I would say he comes back because I don't think he wants to leave them in the lurch. They can replace Seumalo with Cam Jurgens, but if he goes, then there's suddenly, then re-signing Seumalo becomes a must, but it puts pressure on them with the cap. So, if you're asking me to guess, I would say in the next few days we hear that he's coming back.
Let's talk CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's another social media. Social media makes this even more complicated, Tomo, because he posted last week what a lot of fans took as a goodbye video. Now all of a sudden there's reports the Eagles are making a significant push to re-sign him. Obviously, they didn't want to put him under the franchise tag, and they don't like using the franchise tag, so that doesn't tell you much. They don't want a $14.46 million hit on the cap. But, Marcus Williams, they went at last year, who I was told they probably think is a better player, and they bailed out at $12 million. I don't think they want to go much higher. Now you have that built in each year. Everything gets a little bit higher. Where do you think they are with CJ Gardner-Johnson? Is he going to get overpaid? He's 20. That's the kind of guy people want to pay. He's 25 years old coming off his rookie deal.
Yeah. And I think, the fact that he can play in the slot, the versatility he's got makes him even more valuable to teams, including the Eagles. I thought the two guys that they would prioritize would be Hargrave and Gardner-Johnson. Hargrave is probably gone. After Daron Payne's contract, $90 million over 4 years. Javon's obviously going to want at least that, probably more. So, I think that's increased it's probably made them want to keep Gardner-Johnson even more. You can't lose a key cornerback and then also lose a guy like Gardner-Johnson inside that is as valuable as he is. If you have to overpay him somehow, some way, you find the money and do it.
All right. Got to ask you about another guy who's taking social media to potentially get his message out there. As John said, he and I had a slight disagreement on what CJGJ was doing last week with his highlight video, Twitter, and all the love Philadelphia. Of course, he's telling the world he's ready to leave Philly. Doesn't mean he's going to. Can always do the 180 thing, but he's laying the groundwork for it. Yesterday, right. Miles Sanders put out a tweet looking for anonymous love. Yeah, he's doing the same exact thing, Damo. That's what these guys do. They want to have a base underneath them that if they go elsewhere, they don't lose all their fans in a given town. They put it on the organization that, hey, I'm not saying I want to leave, but I got to be prepared to leave. Miles, I've continued to try and sell a narrative that, and Miles doesn't want to hear this, that the running back market is going to be so dry this offseason that nobody's going to give Miles the kind of money that Miles wants and thinks. And if it's all relatively the same, why not come back and play behind the best offensive line in football? That he comes back on a deal that looks good for the Eagles. Am I just wishful thinking here because I'm a fan? And is Miles as good as out of town?
Yeah, I can't find one good reason to resign him, especially if it costs any.
I'll give you one. He's the best back on the Eagles.
I'm not so sure about that. I think Kenny
Gainwell's better than he is.
I think he gives them a lot more in a lot of different ways. I think
he's more versatile. I'll say that.
Yeah, he's a bigger. He can be
a bigger. Kenny Gainwell gets 11.
You know what I want to see him do? Here's what I want to see him do. I want to see them. Miles can. I'm so frustrated with watching him over the last 3 years take everything outside. I just can't. I don't want to see that anymore.
Okay.
So what I want to see them do is go out and sign Deonta Foreman. I want to see them sign a big back, an inexpensive big back. Deonta Foreman may cost more money than they're willing to spend because he's had a good year after Christian McCaffrey left Carolina. But somebody that can be a short yardage guy for them. I don't know. I'm thinking of some other people that are free agents. Mostart.
I'm going to give you a name. Because the guy I like, but it seems like Minnesota's trying to trade Dalvin Cook. Alexander Madison. He is a north-south guy. He would be great behind this offensive line. I don't know about the RPO zone read stuff, though. That's my only concern.
Yeah.
But he goes north-south.
I think he would complement Gainwell very well. And depending on how this tush push thing shakes out, I mean, Jalen's still going to be a threat on quarterback sneaks, but I think it increases the importance a little bit more on a running back being able to pick up that short yard.
Yeah, see, John and I kind of agree on this one. Eliminating the tush push could be a good thing for the Eagles.
I think it helps the Eagles.
Because
I really do.
Jalen's going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
He might have to work a little bit harder, but he's so good at it, he's going to convert. It takes the other teams out of the league of the ability to convert because they need the push more than Jalen needs to push. So I think that Eagle fans have their feathers in an uproar because they're just trying to screw the Eagles because they're good at something. Maybe, but it doesn't matter. If you're still going to be good at it and the other teams will be lesser, be thankful that they're going to change the rule.
If Kelce comes back, I might agree with you. Because he's a key to that play.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yes, sir.
If he doesn't, and if Sayamala leaves too, then it's not so easy.
You got a point.
Yeah, that's true. Defensively, we know Brandon's back. No surprise. I mean, Brandon's been very honest. He wants to play 15 seasons. He wants them all to come in Philadelphia. So if there was one guy that was going to come back on a team-friendly deal, I was going to guarantee it was Brandon Graham. Fletcher's a little bit different. Howie's admitted in the past he's been too loyal, especially after 2017 at times. They finally cut the cord with Fletcher Cox, or is that an either or? If they're going to lose Javon Hargrave, can they afford to lose Fletcher Cox?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe Fletcher would be willing to do a deal like Brandon did. He cares a little bit more about money and a little bit less about sentimentality and finishing his career with the Eagles than Brandon does. My guess. I mean, there was never a scenario where I saw Fletcher re-signing with his team, and I still think that's the case.
Give me a number that you think Fletcher would take. What do you think if Fletcher Cox gets close enough to what he thinks his value is? And every player on the planet's value in their own mind is always inflated, but a reasonable number for Fletcher Cox, what do you think it would be?
Well, I mean, I think Fletcher is going to, unlike Brandon, is going to test the market first. And that'll tell him what he's worth. Fletcher's a guy, unlike Brandon, who would take it personally that they don't want to pay him. They're basically saying you're not the player you are. And they're also, last year they cut him to re-sign him at a lower number, which, he accepted. But something tells me there was a little bit of a hard feeling deep down inside. So, but the market's going to tell. I mean, if he goes out and finds there's no takers out there, then sure, he'll come back at a much lower price, and maybe it would be a number like Brandon's, $6 million. But my guess is somebody is going to still like him enough out there to say, the Rams. I don't know who, but somebody will say,
Jim Schwartz, baby, Jim Schwartz.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I just don't see any scenario where he comes back.
Oh, by the way, all three of our buddies, Howard Eskin said he thinks about $4 million could get it done for Fletcher this year with the Eagles. I think that's completely wishful thinking. Fletcher's not getting anywhere near the 14 he got this past year, but he's getting more than $4
million. Oof.
Yeah. That was the number Howard put out there last week, which I thought was humorous. All right, so it's all Howie Roseman. It's Howie Roseman season. It's Howie Roseman's day today. The Hurts thing is the biggest thing he's got to get done. Kelce's got to give him some guidance. Let's talk about a position that Howie has always put a tremendous amount of emphasis on, as I say, tongue-in-cheek, linebacker. Both Kaiser White and TJ Edwards are free agents. I think they both had outstanding years this past year. We know Nakobe Dean is going to be thrown in at one of the two linebacker positions this upcoming season. One of the two of the linebackers is going to end up elsewhere. We assume the other one's going to stay. How did the two Eagle free agent linebackers play themselves out starting today, Domo?
Well, if I'm Howie, the guy I want to keep is Edwards. Unfortunately, I think he's played himself into a real nice contract here or someplace else. He had 156 tackles. I mean, he just was. I mean, we watched him and couldn't believe that I mean, somehow he got faster, and that's almost
that's
almost impossible to do in football.
Give TJ Watt credit, because he works out with TJ Watt. He completely remade his body. He really did. So he deserves a lot of credit for that. But I'm with you. He might get paid more than people think.
It's still going to be, linebacker's still a position they aren't going to prioritize, even with the new defensive coordinator. But somebody's got to play it besides Dean. I mean, I think Nakobe Dean's going to be an impact player for them. But I would try to sign Edwards. I just don't know how. I mean, I don't. Howie is kind of. He's already painted this scenario that we're pretty much losing all of them, and boy, are we going to have a lot of draft picks next year.
Yeah, Howie said it twice. I'll end it there with you at P Domo on Twitter. Follow Paul, the 33rd-team.com. Howie has said twice now. He said it in Indy. He said it before the season-ending press conference. We're going to lose players. Seems like nobody's listening to him. Band-wise. I mean, we're going to lose significant players. We're going to get compensatory picks in 2024. I think he's going to get 4 is the limit. I think they think they're getting 4. That means significant players are leaving this team. Why do you think people realize that? Do you think it's not latching on? Do you think Howie's playing a game, or do you think he's telling the truth?
No, Howie is not playing a game. I think fans just have a hard time accepting the fact that a team will let all this talent go. And if we weren't in a if there weren't a salary cap, you wouldn't let all these guys go. But we are. They've pushed a lot of money over the years forward, and that combined with the fact that so many of these guys are looking for big money after the years they've had, and the fact that they've got to re-sign Jalen has put them in a situation where the best case scenario for them is to swallow hard, let most of them go, and try to make the most out of the draft picks you're getting for them.
Eagles, according to Paul Domowitch and John McMullen, are losing players. Yeah, they're right. They are losing players. They also lost a lot of coaches this offseason, Domo. Certainly their 2 coordinators we know moved on to be head coaches. Other guys off the staff as well, more on the defensive side than the offensive side. How big a hurdle is that for the Eagles to get over? Because we rightfully pointed out this past offseason leading into the season that they end up in the Super Bowl. Not one change. They kept the entire staff intact. This year, bunch of changes. So if you're going to tell me it was a key that we kept everybody intact, you got to at least admit this is a hurdle that we got to get over with this many changes. How big a hurdle is it?
Offensively, I think, the Brian Johnson move is going to be fairly seamless. They've still got Jeff Stoutland on that side of the ball. I don't think there'll be any problems there. I think I'm a big fan of Brian's, and I think he'll be fine. Even if he's calling the plays, he's got experience at that from college. Defense is another matter. They're pretty much almost replacing their entire defensive staff. The defensive backs coach and the linebackers coach, in addition to the coordinator. At the same time you're doing that, you're probably going to be replacing about 6 starters on your defense. That's kind of that's one or the other wouldn't be bad. If you're replacing these guys but still have Jonathan Gannon, that's one thing. Or if you're replacing your coordinator but you've got everybody back, that's another. The 2 together is a bad combination. This is a team that's going to have to win with its offense this year. There's going to be a major slippage on defense no matter what happens here. I don't see any scenario where they don't lose at least 5, probably 6 or 7 of their starters on defense. And finding, they've got the 2 first-round picks. They'll probably find at least 1 or 2 immediate starters there. But, whether they could step in and play right away, who knows?
And by the way, Damo, I mentioned even if Gannon came back, they weren't playing like they played this year. I feel I'm like the expectations are so out of whack for Sean Desai. I feel pretty bad for him. They're not getting 70 sacks. They're not leading the league in it. This kind of stuff doesn't happen every year. The Eagles have been playing for a long time, 1933, I believe. They never had 70 sacks before. It's probably not going to go to 71 And that wasn't good enough, according to a lot of fans. So I feel sorry for Sean Desai.
Yeah, I mean, he's and you know, as important as an interior rush is and has been to their pass rush. I mean, if they lose, you know, if Cox leaves, if Hargrave leaves, you know, I mean, Jordan Davis, you expect to be better, but he's never been a pass rusher. You hope he'll develop in that role and be a threat in there. But so what do? Suddenly it becomes may go to the top of their board as far as next to cornerback, as far as draft priorities.
Yeah. D tackle, that kid from Pitt, he's exploding off the board. He weighs 275 pounds. I don't know. They might go 350, 275 at defensive tackle.
Yeah, the yin and the yang of it. Damo, always a pleasure. Appreciate you jumping in with us today. We'll be reading on the 33rd team and looking forward to all your Eagle insights whenever you jump on with us here on Birds 365. Thanks, brother.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Paul Domowitch.
Thanks, Damo.
Jumping in.
Happy legal tampering day. If he hung on, I think he left.
The best sports oxymoron that there is, legal tampering, and it is now only 3 hours and change away. It does get underway today. And let's just put this out there, which you and I have done on many an occasion, but I think it needs to be restoked and reminded at this time. You don't win free agency in the first 6 hours of free agency.
No, you don't.
Some people expect that. Some people want that. Some people desire that. And if it doesn't happen, some people get all worked up and ticked off when it doesn't happen. You and I have been down this road. The Eagles didn't. How was it like day 2 or day 3 when they signed Reddick last year?
I think Reddick was early. It was either day 1 or day 2.
Relatively early. Might have been day 2.
Yeah.
And then screeching halt.
Yeah.
Oh,
how he brought that up.
One biggie, and then it was I'll ask you to do some research for me. The only other one of consequence they made, and that was down the road a little bit, was Kaiser White. That was it. 2.
Yeah.
They had 2 guys that they signed. One pretty fast. The other one took a little bit, but they got it done. And then silence, crickets. They didn't do anything for weeks, months, but yet they found a way to add James Bradberry. They found a way to add CJGJ before the season started. Eagle fans, don't get nuts. And you may be ready to get nuts if a couple of guys jump ship early and sign contracts or during the legal tampering period agree to deals with new teams. This is not going to be a Eagles lose the Super Bowl, but immediately get right back at it type day. Not happening.
No.
At best, you can hope for
30th.
is somebody decides to stay who is an Eagle free agent as of today. That's it. They're not signing anybody else from any other team. Don't even go down that road.
August 30th is when the Eagles acquired CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't even have to look that up. November is when they acquired Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. Howie brought that up. Talent acquisition season isn't 2 days. It's months and months and months. And where the Eagles set themselves apart, you mentioned Bradberry as well. That's where they set themselves apart, getting the Bradberries, the Gardner-Johnsons, the Linval Josephs. Later in the process. Later in the process. Patience. Grasshopper. Patience.
Yes, which yours truly is going to be on WIP tonight. I'll get all those very patient Eagle fans checking in going, I'm going to sleep tonight, Joe, after I turn you off.
Well, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad early because so many of the high-profile free agents are Eagles. So they're going to get deals done quickly.
Not only will the Eagles not be adding, they'll just be losing. So, Howie, if you're a smart guy, you're smart to watch Birds 365. Thanks for doing that, big guy. Turn your radio off today. You don't need to hear what's going to go down because it's how do we let them get out the door? How do we not have? It's not going to play well during legal tampering period. But it is a long time before the Eagles' first game of the season. All right, he's Mac. I'm Mac. That makes us Mac and Mac Birds 365. Eddie Kracz going to join us less than 25 minutes from now.
Back from Florida. He's going to have a tan. Kratz gets all tan.
Did he do the Disney thing, or
Yeah,
go
he was at
fishing,
Disney.
or what was Eddie doing down
He
in
was
Florida?
at Disney with the
Okay.
family. Hopefully got me some Mickey Mouse ears.
Yeah, there you go. We'll be sharing with both of us. He'll be sharing Eagle Insight. Don't know if he'll be sharing mouse ears. And when we come back, I do want to run something past John. Very important. Very important. Once again, mouth, tongue in cheek. I did see NFL power ratings today, John.
Oh, my.
Talk
Those are important.
You talk about ridiculousness. All right, McDonald and McMullen here with you on Birds 365. We're right back.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Jeff D'Ambrosio doesn't need a special event to appreciate his customers. Jeff shows his appreciation to them every day of the year. Jeff makes sure to stock more new inventory than anyone and guarantees prices and payments that nobody can beat. There are so many reasons that thousands of customers know Jeff is the easy, friendly place to do business. More for their trades, no judgment zone for credit issues, the best, most reliable service department in the country. That's why I like Jeff, and I know you will too. Jeff will satisfy you every day. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown, Owner Appreciation Event.
We all know that taxes are just part of life. It's true during our working years, but also in retirement. But what you might not know is up to 85% of your Social Security benefits might be taxed. Our team at Thrive Financial has helped retire thousands of people across the Delaware Valley by asking questions they never knew they needed to ask, including how their Social Security benefits might be taxed. It's time to be proactive on taxes. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Plan your day with confidence.
Keep the umbrellas on hand.
With Action News and AccuWeather.
Numerous tornadoes.
Your go-to team when severe weather strikes.
The water is still rising.
Keeping you prepared wherever you watch. Action News and AccuWeather, the team you trust.
John McMullen and Judy McDonald, your Mac guys here on Birds 365. As legalized tampering is just around the corner, 3 hours, we will start to hear. And oh, by the way, quick note, maybe an hour. I don't think we'll hear something in the first 15 minutes, doubt a half an hour. Could be before the end of the first hour. So if it starts at noon, there will be at least one information broker. Is that what you like calling them, John?
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone will come out with something that there is an agreement between player X and team Y. It shouldn't happen. It just flat out shouldn't happen unless it's a guy re-signing with his previous team, which means he shopped himself for 45 minutes and then said, oh, okay, never mind. I'll go back to my old team. Yeah, not realistic. It's a deal that got cut in Indianapolis 2 weeks ago when they were out there for the combine. This is the legalized tampering. Oh, there's been illegal tampering going on all off season since the Super Bowl ended. And we knew the year was over and teams turned the page and started, how can we be better next year? There'll be one. There'll be one deal that comes out in the first hour and a half, John.
Oh, yeah. Probably
and it may
more
well
than that.
include an Eagle player going somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything starts in Indy. That's really the legal, the legal tampering period. I always joke the NFL has never used that term ever, to my knowledge. To them, it's the legal negotiation period. I don't know who came up with it, but the real illegal stuff happens in Indy. You're not supposed to talk in Indy. You're allowed to talk. It is legal these 2 days. So, but yeah, stuff's already done. Stuff's in place. A lot of times when you see big time players get cut elsewhere, and instead of taking a pay cut, it's because they already know there's other deals waiting for them. That's where the real legal tampering happens. It's not legal though.
Johnny Mac, need your thoughts on two big trades that have come down since you and I wrapped it up last week here on Birds 365. The number one pick in the draft has been dealt. And I took some calls on this. I need your take on it. Bears send the first overall pick to Carolina for DJ Moore, who is a top 20, top at worst 25 wide receiver in the league.
Good player. Yeah.
Making good money, $20 million. It's not like he's a great and a value with a lower top. No, he already got his deal, so he's a $20 million guy. But I think he plays to the level of a $20 million guy. And 4 first-round draft picks. So they go from 1 down to 9. And for that, they get 3 additional draft picks and a top 20 wide receiver. What do you think of the Bears deal with Carolina?
Well, it was two 1s and 2 2s, right? It was 2
right.
1s.
See,
2
I
2s.
always
Yeah, 2 1s.
Maybe
2
this
2s.
is just nitpicking on my part. They're giving up a 1, but they're getting back a 1. They're giving up 8 spaces in the draft. So that's what it is to me. Yeah. That you're really not getting 2 first-round draft picks. You're getting an 8-spot decrease, and then on top of that, a future 1, a 2 this year, a 2, and another pick on top of it. What was your grade out on the trade from a Chicago perspective?
I think it was good from a Chicago, and I haven't been, I've not been high at all on Ryan Pace. So part of it is, all right, he's doing the Sam Hinkie thing, the NFL version. He tanks a season, he gets, in the position, and he uses it to get a bunch of picks. So ultimately, from Carolina's perspective, look, if they hit on the quarterback, it doesn't matter. If CJ Stroud, it seems to be everyone thinks they're going up for CJ Stroud. If he turns into a superstar, well, they win. They win. That's how it always happens with these quarterback trades. But from Chicago's perspective, it's interesting because I thought they showed no interest in Justin Fields, and then they did a 180 and said, all right, he's fine. And now let's go build around Justin Fields. They might have already ruined him. So I don't agree with what Chicago has done as a whole, but I think if they didn't want a quarterback, I think they did a good job. So it kind of depends on where you go. Like, I have no confidence in that organization. Maybe Kevin Warren changes that. He's the new team president. Really savvy guy, really well-respected guy, was running the Big Ten, ran Minnesota before that. Maybe he changes it. I don't like what's been going on there, but I like the haul they got in return. And from Carolina's perspective, it doesn't matter. Nobody talks about what the Chiefs gave up for Patrick Mahomes. You know why? Who gives a flying? You got Patrick Mahomes. If you get the quarterback right, it doesn't matter what you give up.
You and I agree on that for sure. What I got a couple calls on, which I was surprised from Chicago people over the weekend on CBS Sports Radio. Why do you do it now? Why not wait? The price of poker had to go up as you got
crappy general manager.
See, I disagree with you. in case you haven't read between the lines here, folks, John doesn't like the Bears a little bit. He doesn't like the general manager. He doesn't like the organization.
I don't like the general
he
manager.
doesn't think Fields is all that good a quarterback, which I don't know how you watch Fields play this year and come away with that opinion, but that's just me. We disagree on the quality of the guy who they have in the position right now. You know that you're going to get better when you get closer to the draft. I don't know that. To get a top 20 wide receiver, a replacement one, and only have to come down 8 slots in the draft, a future one, a 2 this year, and a future pick on top of it, to only move down 8 slots, I think is like one of the best trades I've ever seen in my life. You may not have a high opinion on Ryan Poles, but I think he got a steal of a deal. It was
and I gave him credit.
Too good a trade to give up.
When the deal came down, I said, I put on Twitter, I've been very hard on Ryan Poles, and I said this is a good deal. On paper, this is a good deal for him. And you say I don't like Chicago. I have nothing against the Chicago Bears. I have nothing against Justin Fields. I liked Justin Fields before he got into the Chicago organization. I think they have done him no good and now they're saying, all right, forget about what we did before. Now flip the switch. That's my problem with Chicago. And part of it is, look, I'm above board. I'm not a Sam Hinkie guy. I don't like this bullshit. I don't like it. So that kind of tints, and I'll be honest, that kind of tints my view towards Ryan Poles. I don't like what he did. I think I think these people who do this fail to take into account that these are human beings. And basically with Justin Fields, see, you take it as I don't like Justin Fields. It's the exact opposite of that. They gave him no help. He was running around like Randall Cunningham with Buddy Ryan, making plays on his own physical gifts. But from a quarterback position, from a processing standpoint, he was not good. Part of that was because they had no offense. They went out and got Luke Getsy, who's another Aaron Rodgers guy. You saw Nathaniel Hackett. They're all nobodies. They all got the hell out of the way of Aaron Rodgers. They didn't build an offense for him. And now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, we're going to build an offense for you, so forget about it. They might have already David Carr'd this kid this kid and ruined him. I don't know. Hopefully not. But they did nothing for him. And then all of a sudden, they're flipping the switch and saying, oh, all right, let's start it. That's what I don't like.
Well, see, that's what I do like, because they didn't go down Sam Hinkie's road, which was, well, when are you actually going to land the plane, Sam? When are you actually going to try and get good?
You don't
when are you
have
actually
to do
going to
that.
make a commitment to winning games? Sam was like, talk to the coach. And just continue to pile bad team on bad
basketball,
team just to get draft picks. The Bears did it 1 year. They went into the tank for 1 year, and they have now said, we're landing the plane. We're going to use these draft picks this year to get better players. They've got all this cap room. They got DJ Moore. Oh, they're headed back in the right direction. Now, it may take time. It might not click in right away. But they absolutely have done it in 1 year's time, unlike Sam Hinkie, who took 5.
Well, it's not an apples to apples comparison. I'm not comparing. Basketball's different than football. You don't have to do it for multiple years in football. But the point that you didn't address, and I'd like your opinion on, is the human. I think all these guys, whether that's where the commonality is, they don't take into effect that they're dealing with human beings, not assets. You can't just shit on a kid and assume you could turn on the switch and it's not going to affect him. You didn't build an offense. He's running around like Randall Cunningham, as I said. Go make a play. I don't have a play for you. Go make a play. And now all of a sudden you want to go into a more structured system. I hope they haven't ruined him. I fear they've already ruined him. That's my fear.
Right. Here's where you and I diverge. You think that it's more likely that they ruined him because they did. They threw him to the wolves this year. And man, how many times I said this here, CBS, wherever. He's got no shot. The offensive line was leaking at best. No real running back. The wide receiver room was a joke. Komet, his tight end, was his best receiver, much like, and I'm not trying to compare the two, Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce, best wide receiver in Kansas City after Hill went out the door. Same thing in Chicago. And unless you are Kelce, if your wide receiver is your best receiver, that's not a good thing. So you're right. They threw him into the deep end of the pool this year. I think he comes out of it on the other side even stronger.
Well, I
think it makes him a better player rather than, oh my God, they've already ruined this kid because 1 year they asked him to do really heavy lifting.
Here's another commonality between these losers as well. You can go across sports. They never have the answer on the back end. They never know what they're doing. All they know how to do is to accumulate assets. And then when they have to use those assets, they got no flipping idea. So Ryan Pauls is one of these guys I fear in the same division. I fear Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's the same type. He's doing the same thing this year as Chicago did. He's bailing on everybody. He's another one of the, analytics, blah, 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 assets, blah, blah, blah. And everybody champions these guys in the modern sports world. You got to tank. You're not good enough. 13 games isn't good enough in the case of the Vikings. That's not good enough. You got to tear it down. And everybody believes this crap. And these guys have no answer on the back end. Look at the drafts. Look at the drafts. It's only 1 year for both of them. They both had crappy drafts. What makes you think that's going to turn around? What makes you think that's magically going to turn around? I don't like the GM. I don't like the GM. That's my thing with Chicago.
If he uses his Kansas City influence to get Dwayne Brown to add to that offensive line, seeing as they have
he's got a chance to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a chance to prove me wrong. He's got everything right. He's got the assets. He's got the cap space. All right, Sam Hinkie Light, go do it. Go find some players. Go develop players, even more than finding players, Jody. Because if you're at the top of the draft, as you know, you're going to find talent. Develop those players. Develop is the more important part. Go do it. It proved me wrong.
I agree with you that that's what needs to be done. You don't think it's going to happen. I'm giving it at least a possibility because I'm not big a Fields fan. I think he's that good that despite being asked to carry an unbelievable load this past year, he'll come out of it stronger on the other side. And they've already put the first domino in place with DJ Moore. He's got a legitimate top receiver. You saw what happened with the Eagles this year when they added A.J. Brown. It just makes it that much easier for Devonta Smith. It's a great number one connection between a quarterback and a wide receiver. I'm not going to say Justin Fields and DJ Moore are going to be Hurts and Brown, but they can be Hurts and Brown light. And that's certainly a step in the right direction. So the reason why I'm less ticked off about what the Bears did last year is they turned on a dime and said, all right, never mind, now we're back in. Rather than just waiting and waiting.
I don't think they made a good decision on the coaching staff. I think, one of the things you bring up A.J. Brown and more so Jalen Hurts because he would be the better comp for Justin Fields. And the Eagles made, we talked about that leading up to that draft. Why not Justin Fields here? The Eagles hadn't believed in Jalen Hurts to that point, to the degree where they weren't looking at veteran quarterbacks. They were. But they made the right decision by sticking with Jalen Hurts over Justin Fields. And one of the reasons why it's the right decision, not talent. There's few quarterbacks in the world who have more physical gifts than Justin Fields. Probably, that's a one-hand conversation. You're talking 4 or 5. I mean, this kid, as good as Jalen is as a runner, he ain't Justin Fields. Arm strength, everything. Kid's got everything. And I'm talking about Fields. Now that we know, and we didn't know at the time, you never know about coaches, but Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and Kevin Patullo and Brian Johnson. And this guy's got Luke Getsy, whose job was to get Aaron Rodgers coffee. And you know how I know that? Because that was Nathaniel Hackett's job, and he was a disaster. And Luke Getsy was down on the totem pole. Now, I don't believe in that organization.
Here's where we'll find out about Nathaniel Hackett this year. he's actually back to doing something that he may be able to do as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, get the hell out of Aaron's way.
He was so in over his head as a head coach in Denver. It was ridiculous. That was you talk about institutional misbehavior. What Denver did, what Chicago did pales in comparison to what Denver did, hiring him as their head coach. That was just
well, they hired. That's why. And
at least Eberflus showed you a little something that you might say, this guy could turn into a good head coach. 1 year, Hacker was out on his ass because he was overmatched in that job.
George Payton is a guy I know, I've talked to, I have a lot of respect for, and he made a disastrous mistake. He hired a coach to get a quarterback, and then didn't get the quarterback. And but it tells me something about Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, unfortunately, because he's with the Jets, but it won't be a problem for the Jets because they're going to get the quarterback, and he'll get the hell out of the way, and he'll let Aaron do what he does, and he's one of the greatest of all time. And Luke Getsy's the same way. I joked for years, Norv Turner should pay, residuals to Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. Same thing with all these Aaron Rodgers people. They got out of the way, Jody, and people don't recognize it. And people do not recognize it.
There have been some coaches that have been carried by players. Norv Turner got more chances to be a head coach that he didn't earn than anyone in the history of the National Football League. You and I see that one exactly the same. All right, Mac and Mac here with you on Birds 365. We've got Eddie Kracz, John's co-runner over the coverage on Sports Illustrated. He had a bunch of interesting stories on the Eagles over the last week. Back from vacay, Disney years, you got to stay tuned. Maybe Eddie Kracz will have him on for us. We're guaranteed a tan from McMullen. Shockingly, a guy with a better tan than either McMullen or McDonald is scheduled to join us next. Ed Kracz here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Jeff D'Ambrosio doesn't need a special event to appreciate his customers. Jeff shows his appreciation to them every day of the year. Jeff makes sure to stock more new inventory than anyone and guarantees prices and payments that nobody can beat. There are so many reasons that thousands of customers know Jeff is the easy, friendly place to do business. More for their trades, no judgment zone for credit issues, the best, most reliable service department in the country. That's why I like Jeff, and I know you will too. Jeff will satisfy you every day. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown, Owner Appreciation Event.
We all know that taxes are just part of life. It's true during our working years, but also in retirement. But what you might not know is up to 85% of your Social Security benefits might be taxed. Our team at Thrive Financial has helped retire thousands of people across the Delaware Valley by asking questions they never knew they needed to ask, including how their Social Security benefits might be taxed. It's time to be proactive on taxes. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Plan your day with confidence.
Keep the umbrellas on hand.
With Action News and AccuWeather.
Numerous tornadoes.
Your go-to team when severe weather strikes.
The water is still rising.
Keeping you prepared wherever you watch. Action News and AccuWeather, the team you trust.
On a legal tampering Monday here on the Birds 365 JAKIB Media YouTube show, you've got John McMullen and Jody McDonald hanging with you. All right, he's got better color than us, but I wouldn't exactly say he's.
I was expecting tremendous tan.
Midsummer
Now,
color.
for me, it's tremendous. But
you stay inside. You take all the rides when you were down there in Disney. What do you do with yourself this week down in Florida, Kracz?
I put a lot of sunblock on. I'll tell you that.
There we go. That's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, and wore a hat. So back
Yep.
in the day, you would have, I would have been, some bronze goddess or god, I should say.
No, goddess, you got it right. Did you have the big bucket hat on?
I did not. I just had a ball cap on, regular straight up ball cap. Down there, spring training's going on, so tried to blend, as much as I could.
Yeah, that's happening. All right, Eddie. An hour from 10 minutes from now, an hour from now, 2 hours from now, when will we have the social media, and that's my projecting a little bit here, announcement as to whether Jason Kelce will be playing in the 2023 season for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, you think it's going to happen today? Think he'll make that?
I'm asking. I don't know nothing, so I'm asking you if you'd like to speculate with us here. Will we know before Birds 365 starts all over again in 20-something hours? Will it be before? Will it come down at 10:04 like Diana Rossini last Friday going, oh, by the way, Eagles have given Darius Slay a chance to work out a contract, a trade with any other team. Are we going to get the same stiff job we always do? As soon as the show's over, there's a massive Eagle announcement, and we find out whether the Eagles Hall of Fame center is staying or not.
Yeah, I think, the Eagles are kind of in a holding pattern in general, in my opinion, with free agency. They're trying to bring back some of their guys, and they're going to have to wait to see, how some of these players' markets develop. But with Kelce, I think it's a done deal. I think he's coming back, and I think the Eagles may already know this in some form. He's had opportunities to already tell them. I think, when Kelce talks about retirement, he always says he wants to do it in a big way that people will know that he's retiring, kind of like the way he was at the championship parade back in 2018 when he wore the Mummers costume. He kind of indicated that people will know he'll make a big deal out of his retirement. And I thought there was a chance that if he was going to do it, it would have happened. Somehow they would have worked it into Saturday Night Live with his brother hosting. They would have found a way to do it, and that would have been a big stage for him to make that announcement.
Oh, that's true.
But it didn't happen. So I think the Eagles know he's coming back. I think they're planning as if he's coming back, and we just haven't gotten the announcement yet because it's not him retiring. That's the bigger story, really, is if he's going to retire. And right now, I think he's coming back, and I think the Eagles know it.
Yeah, and he's got the podcast to worry about, so he'll probably announce it on his podcast with Travis. I thought maybe last week, but I think you're right, Ed. I think Howie knows, and that's the more important part for planning purposes as we get closer to the new league year. But we'll see how it shakes out. They were together in Indianapolis. Howie was doing the podcast. I think he's got some information on that, but. When it comes to the cornerbacks, we got news on both fronts. As Jody mentioned, Diana Rossini broke that the Eagles are allowing Drew Rosenhaus to seek a trade for Darius Slay. James Bradberry, as you wrote over at SI, was on, I think, CBS saying, hey, the Eagles, said, hey, please let us have a chance to match any potential contract. I take it as, hey, it's not much different. The Eagles need to work out an extension. They're essentially saying with Slay, hey, go see if other teams are willing to offer you more. In the case of Bradberry, it was always going to be, what's your market value? If it's 12, 13 million, yeah, we'll bring you back. If it's 17 million, probably not. Do you think much has changed on the cornerback front?
The Slay news I thought was pretty interesting. I know the Eagles would like to restructure that deal. Let's face it, the Eagles have to restructure that.
Yeah.
They can't bring him back at the number he's set to count against the salary cap, 26+ million. And this might have kind of been a last resort. You know, Slay has a lot of leverage here in how he handles his contract situation. So the Eagles are probably like, well, you know what? Go out and see if you can find a trade. See if someone will deal for you, and then you'll get a true gauge of what your market value is. And if someone's willing to pay what we're willing to accept, then, you know, we'll let you go. Slay came out and said he doesn't want to be traded. Of course, he wants to finish his career with the Eagles, but he understands that, you know, it's a business. And if he can't get that done, he'll go elsewhere. But we'll see what elsewhere looks like and how much people value Darius Slay. I think the Eagles should bring him back. I think, you know, he's a number one cornerback still, even though he admitted to kind of wearing down at the end of last season. It's a long year. Maybe he understands now what it takes to prepare his body and his mind better for the rigors of a 17-game schedule. But he's still out there recruiting players. I think I saw a tweet earlier this morning of him sending something out to Adam Thielen, the wide receiver. Hey, come on over here. We're winning.
He's still a team leader, man. People don't realize.
The Eagles and him are going to get something done. I really do. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I don't think the market will be as robust as maybe Slay thinks it will be. A 32-year-old cornerback, 10 years in the league now. And the Eagles are going to do their best to keep him. And I think they'll find a way to do that.
All right. I'm going to be rain on the parade guy here. And this, again, hypothetical only. They can't bridge the gap. The Slay wants this extension at this number with guaranteed dollars, percentage-wise. The Eagles get to reduce the cap number, which they desperately want to do. But the divide is too big, and Slay's not compromising, and the Eagles won't go further. And we're sitting here a month from now, and Darius says, I'm planning on showing up for camp. See you then, guys. And the agent and he hang up. What did Eagles do? If they can't get something done, we just continue to, they'll get something done until they don't. And if they don't, then it becomes a real easy choice for the Eagles. It's A or B. There's no C involved. A, they live with the god-awful cap hit, and he plays one more year under the current deal. Or B, they cut him, and they add the $5 million back in. Not a lot when you're talking 21 dead million cap dollar figure, but they would get 5 back in some clearance, but then they have to replace Slay. Which is it? Does he play on the one-year deal, or did the Eagles cut him? If those are the only two options.
Well, if you designate him a post-June 1st cut, or you wait until June 1st, the salary cap savings is greater than it would be previous to June 1st. So that doesn't help the Eagles in the short term, of course, because you still have to carry, I think, that number through to June 1st. But they could release him just based on, it's an $8 million dead money hit, but it's a $17 million savings against the salary cap coming up on June 1st, which could be significant. There still could be players out there that would interest Howie Roseman. We saw it with James Bradberry last year. He came in June. We saw it with...
No, only the first 2 days matter, Ed. Only the first 2 days matter.
I know. I don't think there's going to be a lot of action from the Eagles standpoint the first 2 days. I think you're going to lose guys in the first 2 days, of course, but I'm not sure what they're going to be adding on in those first days, maybe kind of a low-level move. Last year we saw him add Hassan Reddick, I think, on the first day. Big contract. That was their splurge, and then they sat tight, and they just played the long game and waited and chose their spots to make their moves. We could see that again this year, but as far as Slay goes, I'll tell you, that's a tough call. They may end up cutting him after, once June 1st arrives, that money. And then they'll kind of know that that's the plan, and Darius will know, or Slay will know the plan as well. And then the Eagles are going to have to, figure out a way to cover up for him not being on the team, and whether that's in the draft or, you try to bring back James Bradberry. I think Bradberry's not going to find a marketplace for $17 million, like you said, John. maybe 12 million, but that even might be too high for the Eagles to go. So it's certainly a predicament for the Eagles. But Slay, I would probably end up cutting him after June 1st if he doesn't want to play ball. And then, you're going to have to find a way to replace him at some point leading up to that.
We asked this from Paul Domowitch earlier, so I'm going to ask you. If you had your choice, just said Kracz, and you could have one of the corners back, but not both, which one would you rather have, Slay or Bradberry?
Yeah, that's a good question. Slay is a little older, right? He's 2 years older.
Yeah.
Bradberry had a really solid year. Both players to me are good leaders in their own way. So I would probably go on the side of age and go with Bradberry at 30 versus Slay at 32. And admittedly, Slay, like I said, wore down. So, I would probably go with Bradberry 2 years younger. You can maybe get him for 2 or 3 years if that's the route you choose to go. And then he's Slay's age by the time it comes to releasing him or moving on from him.
All right, staying in the defensive backfield, the Eagles, again, this is just Jody Mack's reading, not necessary fact. I think the Eagles leaked information that they will target CJGJ. They're making him a priority in this free agency, a.k.a. if somebody's going to get paid at their highest market value, we're absolutely going to be in the mix in the bidding for him. So they've let people know that he is a top priority for them in free agency. That could be enough to get a deal done.
It's a crowded marketplace, safety, isn't it? I mean, there are a few safeties out there. I don't think any of them are as good as CJGJ, though. And then you have a few coming into the draft if you want to cast your lot there that are pretty good. He's 25 years old. I mean, that's the kind of profile player you want, a guy that's still very young, who you would assume is ascending. I'm not sure he's hit his ceiling yet. Plus, he has that versatility of being able to play in the slot or back at safety. I mean, he proved that this year. It wouldn't be cheap to keep him. I think he's still like a $17 million a year player, and that's too rich for the Eagles. I thought maybe they would try to give him 15 a year, kind of like a deal what they gave with Hassan Reddick last year, a 3-year, $15 million per season contract. I would try that. I mean, maybe that would do it, or 4 years, $60 million, takes him up to 29, gives him another bite at the apple in his late 20s. But it's going to cost a lot. I mean, CJ's not going to go off the market cheaply. He's not going to give the Eagles any discount, even though he liked being here. I think he's going to find a big deal somewhere, and I don't think it's going to be in Philadelphia.
All right, let's go from CJ to TJ, Ed, because the rumors are already swirling with TJ Edwards. Giants, a bunch of Giants people are speculating that New York is going to come at TJ hard. Some Chicago people, Jody and I were talking about that team. Not a big fan of the general manager there. They might go hard. The Jonathan Gannon aspect is obvious. Arizona. But the Giants with Brandon Brown, remember Howie was really upset losing Brandon Brown, more so than Ian Cunningham when you go back a couple years, because Ian went to the Bears out of the division. Brandon went in the division, and now, he was one of those guys responsible for unearthing TJ Edwards. You think there's more than smoke? Is that going to turn into fire?
Well, I mean, he's going to be sought after, I would think. I mean, even keep an eye on Cleveland, right? I mean, with Jim Schwartz out there, you never know who he's going to be looking to poach. But I think you're going to lose TJ, and it's a shame because if you're Howie Roseman, you're looking at your roster and you're looking at linebacker, and you're like, okay, let's see. You're rubbing your hands together. Nakobe Dean played 34 snaps last year. Who else do we have? Oh, nobody.
Wait, are you just forgetting Sean Bradley? You had no chance to step in and play for the Eagles this year?
Well,
Temple disrespect out of you, Ed Kracz.
Remember DJ Elliott, former Temple. He wasn't there with
Temple up and down the staff now these days.
But he wasn't there with Sean.
No. I mean, look, Sean's a nice guy, good player, good special teams player. I'm not sure he's a guy you want to pin your hopes on. I mean, I would probably put Davion Taylor even ahead of Sean Bradley in the starting mix.
And by the way, DJ Elliott coached Davion Taylor in Colorado.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and listen, Davion, it's his third year now. I think he's been here 3 years. So he's got to have developed during that time, right? Remember, he came in raw because he didn't play any high school football. He went to a community college before. So you would think over the 3 years in Philadelphia, he will have developed. But then the other side of that is he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Just when it looks like he's going to take a step and become, a key member of a defense, he something happens, an injury pops up. So I'm not sure you can rely on Davion Taylor either. You can put him in the mix. You can put Sean Bradley in the mix. But, I think I'd rather pin my hopes on someone.
No, I'm not. I don't disagree with that,
Yeah.
Ed, because Davion, people forget, he was showing some things, but then all of a sudden, the Eagles got some linebackers. They got Kaiser White, they signed, and they drafted Nakobe Dean, and all of a sudden, well, there's not a spot for him. But now if you lose TJ, if you lose Kaiser, all you have is Nakobe. Now there's a spot for him again. Now they'll add some bodies. I'm not going to say that's going to be the plan. They're not going to hand him something, but I do think he's got an opportunity if TJ leaves. Maybe that opens up a door a little bit. But that's a tough loss from the perspective of, the Eagles developed him. That's a great story. 9th on the depth chart, can't run, can't do this, can't. And they turn him into one of the best linebackers in football, and then they lose him because they don't value the linebacker position.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone through. I mean, we've seen it past years. The L.J. Forts, Corey Nelson, Paul Warlow, guys they bring in on one-year deals. Now, Kaiser White worked out, and listen, I think they have a better chance of bringing Kaiser White back because he won't be, as expensive as TJ Edwards. So I think Kaiser White has a chance to be one of those guys that comes back. I don't know what his deal would look like. Had a nice season, always gives 110% effort out there. But they do need linebackers, and you're probably going to lose TJ Edwards. And you'd hate, if you're an Eagles fan, you'd hate to see him go, up the turnpike to the New York Giants and have to, see him twice a year. But I think
57 in blue. Stop at Boston Scott. Oh, we don't want to see that.
Yeah, if it gets near the goal line, Boston Scott's getting in.
Yeah,
even against TJ Edwards, he cannot be stopped against.
I think the Giants should sign Boston Scott. Sign him.
You'd think, just to get him out of their hair, right? Put him on your team. But TJ Edwards would make a lot of sense in New York. He'd make a lot of sense in Arizona, Cleveland, wherever else you want to look. He's just a very good instinctive football player. A little limited in coverage, but that's okay because he's good at diagnosing plays. And like you said, he's sets the defense, right? He wears the green dot in his helmet. So he's the one relaying the plays from the sidelines. Be a big loss, but listen, there's going to be big losses. We go into the free agency period knowing that. And I think TJ is going to be one of them. They're just not going to keep him. Now they could bring back Kaiser White. We'll see. I think they probably will try to bring Kaiser back.
All right, then let me follow up there where Ed kind of took us, but I'll make him go officially through the door. The latest, and this is an ever-changing thing, teams' rankings in cap space in the league. Even after adding DJ Moore at $20 million per, the Bears still have more money than anybody else to spend this offseason, over $75 million. Falcons second at 62, Raiders third at 43, Bengals fourth at 33. Arizona Cardinals fifth at $32 million, coached by Jonathan Gannon, can absolutely use an upgrade on the defensive side of the ball. Which Eagle defensive free agent is most likely to land in Arizona?
Well, I think it could be Hargrave. They need help at the defensive tackle spot. And like you said, they have money to spend. And, having money to spend isn't always a good thing. We rarely see teams that win free agency win enough games to make it to the playoffs. I mean, free agency is kind of meant to be kind of, a fill in the blank. You need a guy here. Okay, let's try this guy. But you have to build internally successfully in order to have success on the field. And you can spend all that money you want. And I guess the Jags did it last year. They spent a lot of money and they ended up winning a playoff game. But I think Javon Hargrave's probably the guy that's going to go to Arizona to play with Jonathan Gannon. And it's going to cost a lot. We saw Daron Payne, the Commanders D-tackle, paid a ton of money yesterday. So everybody scoffs at the possibility that Hargrave will get $20 million. I don't think so. I mean, I know he's 30 years old, which, he's coming to that point in his career now where, you really have to make sure you're taking care of your body. But Hargrave does, and he's a good player, and he's a quiet leader. People in the locker room, teammates in the locker room really like Javon Hargrave. Another big loss for the Eagles, but I think he'll probably end up with Arizona. And I'm not sure about TJ in Arizona. I'm not sure. I mean, they have Isaiah Simmons down there, right? They don't know what to do with him, whether he's a linebacker or a safety, so they got to figure that out. But I think the most likely candidate to be a Cardinal is Javon Hargrave.
Agreed.
By the way, for your cap updating, Jody, the Browns have restructured Deshaun Watson's contract. Guess how much space,
really? 1 year in, they've already restructured it.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
Guess how much space they got for restructuring that deal? Just give me a number. Throw a number out there.
25 mil?
36 million.
Oh!
36 stinking million just from redoing that deal. So it's nice to have a rich owner, Jimmy Haslam. Very well off.
Turn it into a signing bonus and pay him immediately.
Yeah.
Make the general manager's job easier. Yes.
That puts them that makes them players now with Jim Schwartz there, right? I mean, he could come hard after a TJ.
And that's where I was going. Fletcher, we got one, Ed. Brandon Graham coming back on a team-friendly deal. I agree with you. I was texting the GM yesterday. He gave $20 million out as a potential for Javon Hargrave. If you lose Javon, can you afford to lose Fletcher? And how much you want to pay Fletcher at this stage of his career? I mean, made $14 million. I think people look at him and say he's not a $14 million player anymore. But I also don't think he's coming back for Brandon Graham money. Can you afford to lose both Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox?
Well, again, if you're Howie, you're looking at your roster and you're seeing, okay, who do I have there if I lose both these starting tackles? You have Jordan Davis, who, what did he do as a rookie? He didn't have to do much, but, you better be fully confident that he's ready to step up into a, 50 snap per game load or 60 snaps per game.
Whoa, I don't know about that.
I don't, but who are you looking at here? You're looking at
Milton Williams, Milton and Marlon Tuipulotu.
Right.
How about Marlon?
Those are you guys. Marvin Wilson, maybe, who had, a cameo down there in Houston. Didn't play as well as the team would have liked, or they wouldn't have gone out and signed Linval
they got on the phone pretty quick after they got a look at Marvin.
Yeah, they did. You wonder if Linval would come back and play, at kind of a 35-year-old money, whatever that looks like, a team that maybe he can win a Super Bowl with still. Does he want to even come to training camp, Linval Joseph, at this point? I don't know. Yeah. But, I would look at him and I would say, okay, let's see what we can do. Maybe we can get him back. Losing Cox, that's a big loss in the locker room. I mean, Cox does more than just what we see on the field. It's also what he brings inside the locker room, which is a good presence, a good leadership, intangible there. Graham gives you that as well. Kelce's coming back probably. That's two of your guys. So I think they'll probably move on from Fletch unless he's willing to take like $7 million for the season, and I'm not sure he would. I think he'll get more. I don't know if I'd go higher than maybe 8 or 9 for Fletch and hope that he comes back because, he's an all-time Eagle, right? He's been here his whole career. But he strikes me as the type of player that wants to see what else is out there and might be looking for a fresh start somewhere. Maybe I know him and Brandon are close. They've dressed next to each other in the locker room for their entire careers. But I something tells me he just wants to see and go to another situation. And You mentioned the Browns, maybe Arizona. He's a great locker room guy, and you hate to lose those kinds of players.
And Jim loves him. I don't know how much power he's got out there, but Jim loves Fletch, so that would make sense.
All right, we've been kicking this around leading up to legal tampering, which now starts in 3 hours and 15 minutes. But some of the conversations about the Eagles for the entire offseason leading up to week number 1 next year need to be tabled because they're not as big a priority. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be addressed. So I'm going to ask you to address a position, Ed Kracz. I'm not even going to ask you to name a guy. I'm going to ask you to name a position for him or a way of acquiring a player. Wide receiver 3 on the Philadelphia Eagles opening day next year will be Quez Watkins, someone who was on the Eagles this past year, not named Quez Watkins, someone who was on another team this year that they'll bring as a free agent, or someone they draft in the NFL draft in April. You don't, Quez is the only name that's there. If you want to affix any other name for any of the other categories, feel free, but tell me where you think the Eagles wide receiver 3 is going to be coming from starting the season next year.
Well, you didn't mention Britton Covey, and I won't either. But
Ed Kracz doing jokes. It's almost like Howie Roseman. Nice try there, big guy.
Yeah, thanks. But I'm going to go Quez Watkins. I think he'll be the third guy.
He'll be the guy, huh?
I think he'll be the guy. I think the Eagles they'll try to bring Zach Pascal back on a 1-year deal. It could be Zach Pascal maybe. But I think Quez, showed some. I mean, Nick Sirianni raved about him after last year, saying he's a number 2 receiver, whatever. But, they like him. Maybe they didn't like him as much this year, but I still think it'll be Quez. He still has a year left on his deal with a relatively cheap number, a 6th-round pick number. Maybe they'll try to get Adam Thielen, upgrade there a little bit, depending on what he costs, depending on if he'll come to Philadelphia to play with Jalen Hurts. I think you're going to see some receivers that will want to come to Philadelphia to play for a team that can challenge for a Super Bowl and play with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. But I just think it's going to be Quez Watkins. I don't think you're going to find a trade partner. I know there's been talk about trading him. I don't know why you would trade for Quez Watkins. I know it's not a great wide receiver class this year. So
it's not great on free agency. That's my concern either with a guy like Thielen. He's going to get paid because there are no receivers out there. So
I think it'll be Quez.
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd base if they want to bring somebody in more than right away at 3rd receiver. I'll leave it here with you, Ed. Follow Ed on Twitter at KratzE, SI.com/NFL/Eagles for all your legal tampering news. Miles Sanders. He seems to be a guy who everyone pretty much is just defaulting towards they're going to lose. Do the Eagles even want Miles Sanders back, number 1? And number 2, if they do, is there a path to where they can get him back?
Well, they would take Miles Sanders back, but it's going to be at their number, and I don't think it's going to be a number that Miles is going to like. And I think there will be some interest in Miles. But again, like we've talked about, it's a loaded class coming in with the draft at running back. And there's some free agents out there that people are going to look at, other teams are going to look at. So we'll see how his market develops. He may take a 1-year deal to come back to Philadelphia. It wouldn't make him happy. He wants some long-term assurance here, and he's a guy that has battled injury in the past. We saw him play through injury this year because it was a contract year. We saw him battle through a knee. He had a hand injury, I think, in the Super Bowl. So the Eagles would like to bring him back, but it's going to be at their number. But we'll see how the market develops. I'd go out and take Bijan Robinson, number 10.
Yeah, Bijan, number 10.
Pack my offense, load my offense up, and just outscore teams.
I'd go find Isaiah Pacheco. Daniel Jeremiah told us there were 13 running backs with at least a 3rd-round grade. That means you could find a starting level running back in the 4th or 5th round. Now, the Eagles don't have a 4th or 5th round pick right now, but you know how he's going to add. If they can find an Isaiah Pacheco type, go out and find that guy.
It's easier said than done, right? I mean, everybody can say go out and find Isaiah Pacheco, but that's not easy to do. I mean, they tried it with Bryce. What was that? Bryce Brown back in 2013, a 7th round.
Darnell Pumphrey would be.
Darnell Pumphrey was a 4th round guy.
You don't want me bringing that name up, McMullen. That's not going to evoke good memories for me.
But behind this offensive line, with that quarterback, I think Ed Kracz might get 970 yards behind that group. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not as optimistic as you about that, but I would go out and get the cream of the crop. Go out and get Bijan Robinson. Now, I like Jahmyr Gibbs that, he can catch the ball. He doesn't have that tread on the tire. Like, that's the thing about Bijan is he's carried the ball a lot at Texas. And, running backs all have that shelf life. Jahmyr Gibbs does not have that level of action that Robinson has. And I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot too. And you could probably get him later. But if you're the Eagles and you want to draft a running back, you can't wait till day 3 because you don't have any picks until the 7th round. So
yeah, but they're going to get one. They're going to have a pick in the 4th, 5th, or 6th by the end of day 1 because Howie's going to trade down, whether it's at 10, whether it's at 30, he's going to add picks. We know that. We know.
Hopefully that is the case. Eddie Kracz, it's always good to see you. Even though we were a little disappointed in your tan, we're living vicariously through you as you get to go to Florida. McMullen and I don't get to go to Disney anymore. We don't have kids that take us down there.
Did you pick me up my Mickey Mouse ears, though?
Those Mickey Mouse ears aren't cheap. I'll tell you.
Oh, good for you. Make him pay if he wants them. Exactly right. EK, great stuff. We'll get you back up in the next couple of weeks.
I asked Ed to bring me back something. I assume he didn't know. We can't talk about that on.
Did you? I know we got to go, but your kids get into the stupid pins.
Yes,
man, how much money I spent over the years on those stupid pins in Disney for my daughter. What a royal waste of money.
She doesn't use them. Like I know that
you couldn't find them in this house. They're in this house somewhere. Oh, I guarantee you that they didn't move out when she moved out. They're still in this house, and I know how much I paid for them. But it's a year and done in a fad and goes into a drawer or a closet somewhere.
Well, see, they put them on their backpacks. They get the lanyard. They have a little cork board that they pin them on, and
My daughter's still wearing a backpack to work. I guarantee you there are no Disney pins on it. At age 27, not happening. But I paid for years for that stuff. Stop with the whining, McDonald. I just want to say thank you, Ed Kracz, for coming on, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks, bud.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Eddie K, Special K from Sports Illustrated here with us on Birds 365. All right, the countdown is on. Just over 3 hours. McMullen, McDonald coming back to put a bow on the show.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Jeff D'Ambrosio doesn't need a special event to appreciate his customers. Jeff shows his appreciation to them every day of the year. Jeff makes sure to stock more new inventory than anyone and guarantees prices and payments that nobody can beat. There are so many reasons that thousands of customers know Jeff is the easy, friendly place to do business. More for their trades. No judgment zone for credit issues. The best, most reliable service department in the country. That's why I like Jeff, and I know you will too. Jeff will satisfy you every day. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown, Owner Appreciation Event.
We all know that taxes are just part of life. It's true during our working years, but also in retirement. But what you might not know is up to 85% of your Social Security benefits might be taxed. Our team at Thrive Financial has helped retire thousands of people across the Delaware Valley by asking questions they never knew they needed to ask, including how their Social Security benefits might be taxed. It's time to be proactive on taxes. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Plan your day with confidence.
Keep the umbrellas on hand.
With Action News and AccuWeather.
Numerous tornadoes.
Your go-to team when severe weather strikes.
The water is still rising.
Keeping you prepared wherever you watch. Action News and AccuWeather. The team you trust.
Got your Mac guys here on board 365, and yes, we'll be right back in 22 hours to do this again. Only we'll have that much more to talk about because legal tampering will have kicked in the NFL. One quick note, John. You brought this up a couple times over the last few shows and again today, and you're right to do so. Let's just get Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. That is much easier said than done. It worked out famously for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, but because kid had a great year, major star in the Super Bowl, wins a championship. That's great for him. But then there's the luck that's involved. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs didn't do a good job scouting a kid and picking a kid, but there are a whole bunch of teams that passed on Isaiah Pacheco that could now look back and go, oh, why didn't we take him? So I looked up the running backs that were drafted last year. Breece Hall, 2nd round, Kenneth Walker, 2nd round, James Cook, 2nd round, Buffalo, 3rd round, Rashad White, Tampa, Ty Davis Price from LSU.
Great one, Ty Davis Price.
What did he do for the 49ers this year?
I'm joking. No, well, the thing is, I don't think Isaiah Pacheco is some kind of superstar back. That's the point. He landed with a very good team, with a very good coach, with a very good offensive line, with a very good passing game. Sound familiar? In other words, what I'm saying is you can find a running back. Isaiah Pacheco isn't Bijan Robinson from a talent perspective. Well, you can win a Super Bowl. We just saw it with Isaiah Pacheco. So whether it's insert name, Tank Bigsby, I don't know. I'm looking at my list. Roshan Johnson, 3rd day back, 4th round. You can win a Super Bowl when you have a great quarterback, a good coaching staff, a great offensive line, a great passing game. You don't need Bijan Robinson. Don't waste your time. You need a cornerback. You need a defensive tackle. You need another edge rusher. You don't need a running back. That's my point.
Right. But my point is 2 Isaiah running backs were taken last year. One was Pacheco in the 7th round, next to last running back taken. The other one was Spiller, who was taken in the 4th round by a team with a great young quarterback, the Los Angeles Chargers. He didn't do diddly squat for LA this year.
Well, you didn't have all the other stuff, though. They don't have a great offensive line. They do have a great young quarterback. They don't have a great coach either, and at least in my estimation. The Eagles are a great situation for a running back, just like the Chiefs. That's the comp to me, not the player. The point that you can get a player that is competent in the 3rd day 3 of the draft to play running back.
All right, so here's my question. Why isn't Kenneth Gainwell already Isaiah Pacheco?
Because his size, he's not built to carry the football that much. He's 5'8". He's he's.
Some people are saying he should be their lead back next year, Johnny Mac.
I don't think he can hold up with that kind of workload. But I expect Kenny Gainwell to be a big part of the offense. I expect it to be a rotational system, a committee approach. I just need the RB. I just need Miles's role. I need the RB1 who's going to carry it 15 times a game. And that I think he could find. And again, I'm defaulting to Daniel Jeremiah. He says there's 13 backs with at least third round grades. That means some are going to fall into the fourth round. With this, and by the way, even more so than Kansas City, because the quarterback is such a running threat here. The +1 makes it even easier for the running back. And that's why people think Kenny Gainwell can be the feature back. They think Boston Scott can be the feature back. They think Jody McDonald can be the feature back. Tone DeShields.
Let's bring Keith Byers back to be the RB1.
Keith Byers. You know why they think that? Because it's true. You could find a running back in the fourth round.
We shall see. All right, J-Mac, have a fun day. I know you'll be talking to people and certainly following the information brokers, if getting some of your own brokerage news. I say you come back and share it with us tomorrow in 22 hours.
Let's do it. Exciting week. Like, share, subscribe.
Do just that before you get out of Dodge today. And know full well, McMullen and McDonald will be back in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.